Greetings again from John Juricic. I am with Harbor Digital Media. I engage in business development activity, digital marketing activity, and most importantly for this video and for the series of videos, leadership consulting activity. And so I am reviewing my life experiences in business, in organizational activity, community activity, and putting some of those experiences onto video. And specifically seeing how they relate to leadership type activity. Okay. And so today I'll be chatting about an experience I had early 2010s, I guess, somewhere in that region, that's dealing specifically with leadership in and around communication. So let me paint the picture for you. So when one of your sort of core business strengths is business development, sales, marketing, you have to engage in communication. You have to be able to talk anywhere about anything, and you have to do that publicly. Increasingly, since 2010-ish, you have to be able to converse online on video. And so I'd done some podcasting and was very much involved with the BC Chamber of Commerce and the Victoria Chamber of Commerce during the 2000s. So I had a lot of experience in communicating, but I had never actually chatted on live radio. And so I was given that chance to do that on a public affairs show on a local radio station called CFAX, and it was Sunday mornings starting, I think, at 8 o'clock till 10 o'clock. I was a co-host with another fellow named Bob Russell, and today's experience around communication leadership is what happened during that time. How did all that come? So after many instances of talking, communicating all over the place, speaking in front of people, here I'm offered this opportunity to talk on radio, and it was very different than all the others, yet very much the same. The first time I went on, Bob introduces the show because he had been on a previous show that this evolved into. I was the color commentator, so to speak. Fascinating thing about communication, which if you're to be an effective leader, you've got to be able to do this well, somehow. Somehow you got to figure out how to talk and communicate your ideas to people if you want to be an effective leader. So I'm going to do a few videos about my experiences around communication. Certainly, we started the show. I think it went on for about 6 months, maybe 9 months. First of all, I lose my Saturday nights because I had to be awake. So that was annoying. But the fun, the thrill, there's a certain thrill to all of this. And I've often found that one can create a whole bunch of anxiety prior to speaking that when in fact speaking doesn't exist. Actually all that stuff you create in your head when you start to do the public speaking isn't there. And so after knowing this, speaking many times, I somewhat prepared that when I start to speak online on a live radio show, it would be like this. Just yakking like this. In a live radio show, you've got to try to reduce the ums and the ahs. You certainly have to reduce the pauses. You have to try to remain in some sort of sequence. You're not in front of a camera, so it's very different. And you're always supported by a co-host. So fascinating experience. We started to do it. I started to have quite a bit of fun. There are times that Bob would have an editorial and he would read it. There are folks that talk a lot, and folks that talk to video a lot that have scripts. There's a big debate now on whether to have scripts to be just chatting off the cuff as I am, and or both, have a little list somewhere to the side, And one thing very important around doing this sort of thing almost identical to radio, was that except it's video. And as you can see, I have to learn how to chat better to the mic because I'm sort of chatting to me on the screen. Nonetheless, that's all indifferent to the experience. So we did this show, like I said, 6 to 9 months. I loved it. I ended up loving it. And there's an entire production of stuff going in front of you. And so you're very well protected, so to speak. It's not just you up there all alone. I try to not do the ums, so you're consciously going, don't do the ums, don't do them. So great experience. I would have a sense of the topics. I would have a sense of what we were talking about. I was given an agenda, so to speak, of the things we're going to talk about. But I must say, so going through that, first of all, it's exhausting. Exhausting. You've done effective communication when you are exhausted afterwards, because you're actually thinking about 3 to 5 words ahead of what you are saying. You're jumping ahead, trying to anticipate the sentence, the next thought, the weaving in of experiences. And to do that without the ums and the ahs, to do that relatively calmly, relatively smoothly, without too many breaks, is exhausting. Your brain's at 150%. So no matter whom you see, for example, there were some amazing speakers at these conventions, these political conventions in the States, especially on the Democratic side, just extraordinary. They're all reading their scripts. So in fact, when they practice, what they're practicing on is the emphasis words, the flow. It's like acting. Effective communication is like acting. It's almost as though you're coming out of a fine arts training in which you had to practice acting. And so, but you have to learn how to do it. Seize the opportunities, find opportunities, create opportunities to speak in public. It's an essential ingredient, if not the most important ingredient, in effective leadership of any kind. Okay? I abide by that. You got to learn how to talk. When Bob and I had finished a session, we would go for breakfast afterwards. We'd find this place. CFAC's offices are in downtown Victoria, and we'd find a spot. That was the funnest part, was reviewing and chatting and just going over what we had done and what we had said, how we said it. So very exciting, so enthralling, to sort of wonder what we're talking, what would you say, what was the reaction? Some of the lessons learned from that experience was it wasn't anywhere near as anxious that I thought it would be, especially since you're not on video. You can just sort of really concentrate on what you're saying. Certainly, it was yet another experience in which I was able to practice communicating, and we were able to advocate for a lot of local issues and a lot of business issues. At that time, this kind of constant video all over the place was not actually in play yet. And so local radio was a way to do that. Another lesson learned was the basic logistics of communicating, just the basic stuff like the ahs and the breaks and touching your face and touching, even though on the radio, you know what's looking, you do end up, having a certain calmness. You get to a certain confidence that only practice will help out with. Also reinforcing the fact that communication leadership, communication implementation is the most effective type of leadership, no matter what kind of leadership you're engaged with, business, organizational, personal. You got to learn how to capture your thoughts. You need to learn how to capture your ideas. You got to learn how to communicate them. Thank you for listening. I'm going to do a ton of these. And Really appreciate your time. If you got to now, then I thank you for that. And until we meet again, see you later.